So I'm really excited, Megan, to have this conversation with you for a number of reasons. One being, this is the first podcast I've ever done in almost 9 years with a cocktail in my hand.
Oh, nice. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
We got to cheers.
Don't be alarmed, listeners, that know my story, that I'm banned from alcohol for life. This is a non-alcoholic cocktail. But what is so freaking awesome is that, I won't say I miss the drama and the negative effects of alcohol, but over the years, sometimes I do miss like the taste and the ritual of it, right? Of like, a margarita, a mezcal, a shot of vodka, whatever, right? And I just like wrote it off. That's just off the menu for me, I took a few turns on the ride. I got kicked off the ride. It's over. Let everyone else enjoy it. But when we met a couple months ago and you're like, oh, I have, a really awesome non-alcoholic drink brand, I was like, yes. So here we go. It's really nice to enjoy it with no chance of ending up in handcuffs or a morgue afterward.
That's good. I'm glad I can help that.
So thank you for doing what you did. So for those listening, we met in December as participants in Holon, the Holon experience, an intensive out in California. And I think your episode that we're doing today comes out a couple weeks before the Holon one. So stay tuned, folks. That'll be coming soon. You'll learn about that. But we met in a like a Uber on the way from the Sacramento airport, both going to the same place. So they sent a car, and we immediately started talking about ayahuasca. And I was like, oh, this girl's cool. She gets it. I was like, we've had a lot of the same experiences. And then, there's only 3 of us cohorts in that intensive, and it really is an intensive for 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, 4 days.
Yeah, four like full-on days. And so I feel like we really got to know each other well there. And I'm excited to, allow the audience to get to know you too.
Great.
Yeah, it's cool. We have a brief but kind of deep history already.
I know. Those 4 days, you're like, everything about someone real quick.
100%. Tell us a little bit about how you found the folks at Holon and kind of what your experience has been.
I was at a psychedelics conference. I was at Wonderland in Miami in November 2023, and Amy and I were at a party, this really wild party on the water, and we just like ran into each other and started talking, and we like super locked eyes. It was almost like we were doing an activation. And then she was like, do you know you're clairvoyant? Like just real quick. And we both like looked like normal people too. And I was like, yeah, I think so. And then we just super dropped in. And then she sort of told me what they do. And I was super interested in it because like we talked about, like I've practiced with psychedelics a lot. It's part of my practice and I love it. But I was feeling like I was like just hitting a ceiling and getting stuck and not really making any progress. And Amy was telling me about the neurofeedback and the work they did. And I was like, sign me up. And then they ended up having, I didn't know anything. And they ended up having an opening like less than a month later or about a month later. And I was like, all right, I'm totally in. And then I like sign up, I pay the money, and all my friends like, you're doing what? Someone's going to like map your brain. They're going to rewire your brain. You don't even know these people. And I was like, oh no, it's totally going to be fine. This is exactly what I need to do. And that's how I met Amy and Drew. And then when we met this year in December, was the second time I had done it.
Wow.
So I've done the Holon intensive twice.
That was one thing that was also reassuring to me, right? Is you're like, oh, dude, it changed my life. It was so awesome. That's why I'm back. I was like, okay, cool. I had the right intuition to go do that too. That was definitely affirming. Tell me a little bit about that feeling of hitting a ceiling with psychedelic work.
I felt like the same things were coming up over and over again, like the same self-worth themes, the same, control themes, the same sort of addiction to suffering themes. And my friends have a retreat center outside of Tulum called Kumenkaya. I like love them. They're the best like teachers. So like it's, and then I'll go to I'll go to the Maloka and stay on their property for like 7 days, and I'll feel really good and everything is great there. And then I would go home and it would be kind of like, go on the retreat and then go home and kind of go like a little bit like this, and then go on the retreat and then go home and go a little bit like this. And I just thought, it was like, oh, is this my ego getting in the way, or is it my patterning? It just felt like my patterns were stronger than what I could work with the medicine to really fix. And so Amy was like, no, you can, with just neurofeedback, like no, like medicine, you can kind of rewire your brain, and like we can help you. And that really resonated with me, because I was like, oh, sometimes I just felt like I needed a little bit more help.
Yeah, that makes sense. Talking to Drew and Amy yesterday, she mentioned something about the law of diminishing returns, with psychedelics, which is identified with, I don't know diminishing like in a negative sense, but I feel like in my first couple years of that kind of work, I mean, there was just such massive transformation and healing. I mean, my entire life changed in so many positive ways, and also in measurable ways in the external, career, relationships, finances, creativity, all the things. And so I think was misinterpreted that as this is the way it's always going to go, so I'll just keep doing this forever. And in the past couple years, I've had some nice experiences, but none of them have really had those just like paradigm shifting massive insights and downloads where my life takes a completely different trajectory, or afterward I just feel completely different. And so I really kind of took notice of that, and like, interesting. I wonder, I guess there's seasons for everything too, right? Maybe if I take a break in 5 years, I might go sit and be like, boom, oh my God, I just unlocked this whole new, avenue. But it has seemed like over time, the, I don't know, the efficacy or just the impact, I guess would be the good word, of those experiences has seemed to kind of slow down or become diminished to the point where I feel less drawn. Versus Holon, which is like you wake up feeling great every day. There's no deficit to that work either. I think that's what's cool about it. I was like, wow, this is very much like a medicine sort of retreat, but you actually feel physically awesome the whole time. Right?
Oh, and you eat the best food.
Yeah.
And what's interesting for me, like after a psychedelic retreat, when I went back to Kumenkaya after I did the first Holon, and it was like even more amazing. It was like I had like opened up my brain more, like I had so much more space there. And so I still did some clearing and some cleaning, but I wasn't reworking my same problems.
Oh, interesting.
Like after I had done the clearing, like of my first ceremony or two of the week is always like, oh, like I have to clear all this stuff. And then the second two, I didn't go back to the same problems. I was like doing cool shit. I was like out there in the ether, and I was talking to my guides, and I was like, whoa, do I not have to go on that hamster wheel again during ceremony? But what I found was like with Holon, they say it's cumulative, like right after you feel good. And then you kind of keep, I don't know how you feel, but like I feel my brain continually opens more and more, where 3 months after Holon, I think I feel even better, like because the work seems to be cumulative. Whereas with psychedelics, I did feel in the past like I would feel great after the retreat, and then I would come home and then life would hit me. And like maybe 3 months in, if life was hitting me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I need to go back and do psychedelics. Like I didn't feel like I could sort of get there on my own. And now that my brain I have more space because of Holon, I don't have that same feeling. I'm like, oh, I kind of have the tools now in my brain.
Yeah, that's cool that you got the experience of doing that sort of N of one testing on yourself, the before and after kind of thing, I guess I did too. I just got back from a Wachuma pilgrimage, as I was telling you about in Peru. But I think because we did Holon in December, and then in January my dad died, and then I guess it was March when I went down to Peru. It's like a couple big things happened, so it's like kind of tough to tell what was what there, to be able to delineate, some of those peak experiences, whether they were difficult or beautiful. But that's cool. You had like a more isolated, kind of testing period to see what's what. One thing that was super cool yesterday was seeing the before and after, though, of my brain map. and just seeing how much improvement there was. It's like so awesome, which makes sense in correlation to what I've noticed subjectively of just being less reactive and just like super chill when things go haywire. I've been pretty grounded. Is that like one of the first things you noticed from your first neurofeedback training? Did you have a sense that like, wow, I'm not really as easily shaken as I was before?
I did. I felt like I remember when they mapped my brain, there was like a place right here and they were like, this is where your overthinking is happening. And I felt like I was like kind of like a prisoner to those overthinking thoughts. And right away, I remember getting home and I meditate every morning, but a lot of that pre-Holon was like, oh, here's the hamster wheel. I'm going to stop it. And I just was like, oh, wow, it's not there all the time. It's not like I was totally cured, but there were patches of time where it was clear. And so that's what I noticed right away. And then I noticed at work that I was like less reactive and like actually hilariously, oh my gosh, when we got back from Holon, like Little Saints, we were, I haven't raised any venture capital and we've only raised from angels and we've been really scrappy. And I remember Katie, my business partner, and I, we were like looking at my phone and I literally had something crazy like $20 in my bank account and like Little Saints bank account wasn't doing that well then. We're fine now. And I was just laughing. I was like, oh my God, like in no way before Holon would I have been able like have the space to like laugh at this. Maybe it wasn't funny, but like I was just light enough to be like, oh, I'm going to be okay rather than going kind of straight to the doom and gloom, which I found I used to have a little bit of a break where I could feel more personally light, but like work, especially finances for work were like very heavy. And of course I have a responsibility and it's a real thing, but somehow it like all of the heaviness for work felt a little lighter.
Yeah. I love doing things that work. Right. And you can quantify like, oh, a month ago I would have been this way and now I'm this way. What did I do differently? What was the input there that moved the needle? I think it's like, we live in a really, as crazy as the world is, we live in such an awesome time that things like that are available. Yeah. Right? You don't just have to be stuck in these freaking patterns your whole life. That's just awesome. Tell me about being an environmental lawyer. You're like such a fun and bubbly person. When I think of a lawyer, they seem very serious. And
I was a lawyer for a long time.
How long?
Well, 7 years practicing.
Wow.
Like as a lawyer. And then the way I got into being an entrepreneur was I was a lawyer. I was like, well, I don't have any business skills because I've only been a paralegal and a lawyer. So that's like how I got in there. There was like a hydroponic basil farm in Chicago that I was like obsessed with. It was called Farmed Here. I was like, vertical farming is the future. I'm going to get into this. I have no business skills, but I love your business and I'm going to give you free legal work. So I worked for equity for this farm for like 9-10 months.
Really?
Yeah. And that's how I got into being an entrepreneur. I was just like, I will make myself helpful. I love what you're doing. So I like used my skills. I like helped him raise money. I helped him get out of some legal trouble. And then that's how I like got into being an entrepreneur. But the environmental lawyer part was my last law firm job. Second to last law firm job, but towards the end. And I worked for Earth Justice. I was an associate for Earth Justice. Like the Earth needs a good lawyer, the Sierra Club. They were originally the legal defense fund for the Sierra Club. And I was just really passionate. I mean, I still am, but just in a like showing it in a different way. I was like, what we are doing to our earth is horrible. Like coal plants are horrible. Like Earth Justice is like fighting all this stuff and I'm going to go fight the good fight. And so I got this job and I did it for 2 years. And so we fought TVA, which is a coal plant in Tennessee that does like horrible emissions. So we were like doing like coal plant emissions work. And then I helped start the factory farm practice with one of the senior attorneys at Earth Justice. So we would fight like the really horrible chicken farms in Maryland and the hog farms that just like emit horrible gases in the air and like also pollute the waterways. So I did that work.
Wow.
And I worked on fracking chemicals. Like so we also were part of the team that like stopped fracking from getting into New York State when fracking was like really it was really irresponsibly done.
Yeah, I remember seeing a documentary, well, 2 documentaries. One was about factory farms called Earthlings. This is like back in early 2000s, I immediately became a vegetarian. Like the next day I watched that. Saw this like hidden camera footage of just animal abuse. And I mean, it was just horrific. But at the time I didn't know that, you could raise animals in a more humane way. But another one, I forget the name of it, was on fracking. And they'd show how like, people that lived on these kind of in these rural areas where the fracking was taking place would turn their kitchen sink and they could light their water on fire. It was like so full of chemicals.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
That was in Pennsylvania. I don't remember what the name of that film was, but we would go there. So we would like go to the communities, and that was for real. It was before they like instituted these casing and cementing rules, like so that like the fracking pipes had to be like really safe. And now from what I understand, like it is possible to do fracking safer. I don't know if safely, but safer. Yeah. But at the time they were just like throwing shit in the ground and like gas was everywhere. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So it was cool. My like boss there was like a badass. We like stopped it from getting into New York and put a bunch of laws in place. So I love earth justice. I realized that I was a total psycho during that period. Like I was like a militant with my friends and family. And I noticed that I was actually turning off everyone in my close circle. Like I think I was making them want to like be less friendly to the environment because I was like such a militant, and then I was like, okay, well, that's not my intention. And like so many people want to work for earth justice. So it's not like they're going to be hurting if I don't work there anymore. And I don't think I was like even the best lawyer for them. So I was like, okay, well, I want to do something that's like going to help people love nature more in a more positive way. And that's how I got into Farmed Here. And then my next company was a plant-based foods company, and then Little Saints. So the theme is always like, subtly like inspiring people to love nature, even though in a wonky way.
What happened to the basil company?
The basil company went out of business. So I wasn't.
Was it because they only grew basil? I'm like, how much of a market is there for pesto or whatever?
Well, we before people were talking about ugly produce, we would like take our ugly basil and freeze it and make it into salad dressing. So the farm was like literally like the leaves were dying, the farm was dying. So we put the farm out of business, but then we started like a salad dressing and juice and dip brand to like make stuff out of basil. And then we started sourcing from other local farms, and like we did our own manufacturing too. So it's a really great company. It's still alive.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I left, but it's still alive and they're doing good work.
I'm glad they made it. Do you ever feel like no matter how much you sleep, no matter what supplements you take and how well you eat, you're still running on empty? Well, you are not alone, and it's almost guaranteed that a lack of NAD+ has got a lot to do with it. See, here's what's up. As we age, our NAD+ levels naturally tank, taking our energy, mental clarity, and ability to recover along with it. So that's one of the main reasons so many people rely on stimulants like caffeine or other quick fixes. And if you want to just temporarily fix the low energy problem, those might get you through the day. But if you actually want to replenish your body's natural fuel source at the cellular level, you got to hook yourself up with the NAD+ options from Limitless Living MD. These guys are incredible. They offer personalized peptide protocols and NAD+ treatments designed to optimize your health at the root level, not just mask symptoms. And the coolest part is that you can do it at home. So whether you use the daily nasal spray for ongoing support or opt for powerful injections, NAD+ works with your body to restore deep, lasting energy with zero crash or downside. And the benefits of NAD go way beyond just energy. It also supports cell repair and mitochondrial function for healthy aging and longevity. So getting on board with this is super easy, you guys. Go to limitlesslivingmd.com/Luke and use the code Luke for 12% off your first order. And with Limitless Living MD, you also get expert guidance, a customized wellness plan, direct-to-door treatments, and ongoing support for your peak vitality. That's limitlesslivingmd.com/Luke. With Little Saints, did you start out making a CBD drink or something at first? What was that like?
Yeah, so I come from Wisconsin, where we like to drink a lot. Like everyone I know, like just drinks a ton of alcohol, and I never wanted to stop drinking. But during COVID, I was living by myself alone, and I was like, all right, I did dry January for the first time in 2021. I'd failed it like 15 times before, and I like got everything that was like non-alc, still brands that are still alive today that are beautiful, but like everything was full of sugar. Like nothing had a nose to it, you know, like you want to smell something if it's a nighttime cocktail, and then nothing had like a really good functional ingredient. And so like mushrooms and Little Saints. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to like that, you know, that's like where I can actually be really helpful to this industry. And that's when I started Little Saints. But my goal was always to like evolve the future of imbibing, because like the way I grew up and like the way I thought of things, it was like, oh, either like you're drinking alcohol or you're drinking water. There's really, or juice or whatever. There's no in between. And I saw the world as sort of like more of a rainbow of fuels. Like you can pick whatever you want. So my like solution to that was I actually had microdose THC edibles too. So it was CBD,
really?
mushroom mocktails, and microdose THC mushroom gummies. And so
Really?
it was like I was selling it as a solution, like Little Saints gummies and Little Saints CBD mocktails. And then we dropped the CBD. And then THC was a great way to like light cash on fire, because I was a sole founder and I was funding it at the time. And I was living in Detroit and I was like selling these low potency. There were 2 milligrams of THC and like this really great reishi mushroom. They were shaped like mushrooms. They were like pink champagne, and they were like really expensive for a low amount of milligrams of THC. And no one really wanted to buy them except for like a couple people. You know, it's like, no, I can just buy a gummy and like bite a little piece over it. Like
Right.
I don't really need to spend $20 on this one gummy. It wasn't really one gummy, but what happened was I had this little mint green vending trailer, and I was like taking it, I was like towing the damn thing by myself off my Jeep, and I would take it to events all throughout like Detroit and Michigan. And I would tell people about the gummies. Obviously I wasn't selling the gummies, and then I would sell the drinks, and no one really gave a shit about the gummies. Actually, they were like, yeah, I know about cannabis. Like I can go get that for $5 down the street. But everyone kind of had a similar story where they're like, yeah, I drank too much during the pandemic and like I need to figure something out. Like no one really wanted to quit, but no one else kind of knew what to do. And so that's when I was like, oh, this non-alc thing is actually like a problem to solve. Like the gummies other people have solved. So I just like got rid of the gummies in 2 months. And then we had CBD in the drinks. We called them Mocktails, which now we know is like not a good word, because that makes it feel like it's like less than. Like you and I are having a cocktail that just happens to not be powered by alcohol. It's powered by lion's mane mushroom. And so in the beginning, we called ourselves like CBD mushroom mocktails, and now they're just non-alcoholic cocktails powered by mushrooms.
Amazing. You found a need. I just wish you would have been around 28 years ago. Like, remember when I quit drinking, I was playing in bands and stuff. So I was in bars and nightclubs all the time for years. And it was like, I mean, at first it was kind of getting over the embarrassment of being the guy who's like holding a Perrier or something, right? And then I was like, this is awkward. So then I would get my drink of choice turned into basically like cranberry and soda. But then I started getting really into health and realized I'm drinking tap water in the soda water. That sucks. I don't want to drink tap water. And then I don't know, maybe I just stopped going to bars eventually. But you know, it's like when other people are drinking and you don't want to drink, you already feel kind of different because of the wavelength you're on.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to kind of participate in the ritual.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's something that you tapped into that's super cool. But not only just like, oh, something that tastes nice, but something that also has an effect on your mood without you getting intoxicated at all. So tell me about how you started to get the ideas of infusing the mushrooms and sourcing them to make sure they actually do something and so on, which is top of mind because I just interviewed a guy a couple of days ago who makes mushroom tinctures. Mm-hmm. And he did this demonstration where he showed 2 unnamed but very popular mushroom brands that sell like powders and capsules.
Yeah.
And you can pour iodine, like drops of iodine on it, and iodine turns starch like a deep black or kind of purple. Uh-huh. And he's done all this testing on other brands, and they're like 40 to 75% starch. There's like very little actual mushroom in there. And I was like, oh shit.
Oh, so, in the powders.
Yeah, in the powders.
Oh,
yeah. So it's like, you know, I think a lot of brands out there are like, oh yeah, we have mushrooms in our thing. And it's like, do you really?
It's like,
you know?
do you? Well, you know how you know. This is cloudy. And in the beginning, people were like, well, that looks kind of weird. You should put some coloring in there. I'm like, no way. That means that there's mushrooms in there. Because that is like what the mushroom powder looks like. So I'm a total psycho about ingredients. And just for my own, like I used to, I started taking like mushroom coffee supplements like everyone else did. And I could tell like what was helping it and what wasn't. And so like the beta glucan is the part of the mushroom. It's a fiber, and that's where like the health effects are going to be found. And so we found a mushroom supplier. We dropped CBD for a bunch of reasons, including that like a lot of people don't like it. Some people think it's drugs, you know, and then in the end, like I wasn't totally confident that our CBD supplier wasn't putting weird solvents and shit in there. So I was just like, no, we got to like make sure we know what's in there. So we found this mushroom supplier, and they give us like COAs on every batch, like a certificate of authenticity, just like a lab report showing that it's 70% beta glucan. So like if we were to go in your kitchen and fry up lion's mane in a pan, it would probably be around like less than 5% beta glucan, probably 1% beta glucan. But the mushroom extracts in here are a 70% beta glucan. And it's actually, our supplier sells like almost not exclusively, but like mostly to supplement. It's like a really like high-end like supplement, and it's extracted with ultrasound instead of a solvent. So there's nothing weird in there. So it's just like this precision extracted, like really potent. And it's a really fine powder. It's really cool to see in the factory because it's like, you know, those powders that are like air, like I wouldn't put my whole hand through there, but it's like the tiniest particles. And then so our supplier, I mean, I haven't done any tests on this, but like it's like really bioavailable when it's in like that potent and in liquid.
Oh, yeah. Cool. And how did you even know to go that direction and not get duped and end up with like another shitty fake mushroom product?
I know.
You know? I mean, like the market is so, like kind of like CBD, right? I mean, it's so saturated.
Well, kind of from our own experimentation. I mean, I hate to admit this, but in the beginning, we had the CBD and the reishi mushroom, and we were making the reishi extract for us. Like they were like macerating reishi mushrooms and like creating an extract. And I was like, all right, well, let's just take the CBD out. But then we would take the CBD out, and like, not like this is intoxicating or anything, but I couldn't feel anything. And I was like, I don't think this is like really doing anything. So then, and that was, I thought, the best thing, because before we started making our own reishi mushroom extract, we had been using other powders, and I thought those did less than the macerated reishis. And so then we finally found this supplier, and I remember we were doing benchtop samples, which is just like you and your formulator in like a commercial kitchen, and like, listen, these do not get you high, but I felt it like the first sip. Like I was like, oh, I feel something here, and it's just like a little bit of a relaxation feeling, and it's not as potent in these because that was just like a super concentrated. But then I was like, oh, okay, this like is going to do something, and we're going to replace CBD with this.
What does the non-alc industry look like? Because I'm totally unaware that even existed before I met you.
Really?
You know? Yeah, because I don't know. I kind of wrote it off. You know, I was just like, oh yeah, there's nothing for me. So it is what it is. I just gave up on that. You know. It's
really like been growing a lot, and the statistics are all over the place. So like the best statistics I have are that it's tiny. It's $1 billion market, whereas alcohol is, I think, a $320 billion market in the US. So it's like
just in the US?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no, it's crazy town.
Wow.
And so it's like very small, but it's growing like anywhere from like 30 to 50% year over year, where alcohol is like declining anywhere from 2 to 7% every year. Yeah. Like the stats show that. And that's just for off premise, which means like grocery stores and liquor stores. So like sales are like for sure down like significantly for alcohol, and it's for sure up significantly for non-alc. And then just like anecdotally, like we have all of these, you know, bartenders being like, no one's drinking alcohol anymore. Like people that we were knocking on their door and we're like trying to get in, and like just having no word back from like a year ago, everyone's kind of calling us now and being like, oh, we need like a non-alcoholic menu.
Wow. That's very encouraging. Imagine if, you know, the whole country's alcohol consumption went down considerably, like what a better culture we would have. And no judgment against people that drink, but it's not, you know, alcohol is not, it doesn't raise your consciousness.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. And
you know?
Well, so we just surveyed our customers. We got 1,100 survey results back, and like I made Little Saints. I still drank alcohol when I created Little Saints for the first year and a half. Yeah. I didn't intend to quit. Like this is a Paloma. That's a spicy margarita. Like this is meant to taste a little bit like a mezcal. Like it was for people who like liked alcohol and just wanted to drink less. And then I ended up quitting alcohol, which we can talk about. But like, so anyways, we just surveyed people and like 94% of Little Saints customers still drink alcohol. They just know alcohol is unhealthy and they want to drink less of it.
Wow.
And so we don't demonize it. And that is where I see things going. It's like maybe people going from going out and always having 2 or 3 drinks every night to like maybe not feeling bad about having no drinks one night. And then maybe the next night they have like, you know, 1 alcoholic cocktail and then 1 Little Saints. It's like you were saying before with the Perrier. Like if you just like order this on a menu, then at least you feel like you're participating. And like everyone's kind of trying to just like I don't think we had the awareness, maybe you probably did, but like me, like just like of how bad it was. And now like it's in everyone's face, like the Surgeon General warning, and they can't get away from it. But like we're not going to like change our habits, you know, like we're not going to like stop going and like meeting people for a drink.
Totally.
And so,
I mean, you know, that's another thing I kind of forgot about too when I, you know, would be drinking my Perrier or cranberry and soda. There's a lot of, in that kind of social environment, bars, clubs, etc. If you don't have a drink in your hand, it starts a lot of conversations that are really monotonous. What? Oh, you want a drink? Why aren't you drinking? And then it's like, if you had a problem drinking like I did, then yeah, it's like, oh, okay, how much of the story do I want to go into? Like, you know, I think not anymore, obviously, but in the beginning, there was kind of like, it was kind of embarrassing at that time to not drink when everyone else was, because there's like a reason for it. And I think that reason had a little more stigma than it probably does now. I don't know, because I'm not out there in that world.
Well, it's even changed a lot in the past 2 years. So I quit drinking in September 2022. And I remember that first holiday season, like December, not having alcohol, and definitely like, especially like, I love my friends from home from Wisconsin, but especially like kind of having to explain that to them and my family. And I was, you know, it was like, why aren't you drinking? Like 2022 felt like a lot. 2023 felt like less and less. And now like 2024, like I feel, it's just me, but I feel like a lot of people know the term non-alc. Like it's almost getting kind of cool to order a non-alc cocktail on the menu. Like no one wants a juice, but if there's like something fun, like it's kind of like on trend a little bit to order it.
Wow.
And they're expensive, you know, like Miami, they're like $18.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, this costs more to make than a bottle of alcohol.
Are you serious?
For sure. Yeah.
Oh my God. That seems backwards. It shouldn't be that way.
But like, wouldn't you pay more to like drink something that was healthy rather than
yeah, 100%. I mean, also like that you've done it with no sugar, because that's a problem too. If you don't want to drink and you go to your average bar, it's going to be like orange juice, cranberry juice, soda or something like that. I mean, it's like total crap. There's nothing that's even like not harmful, let alone something that's actually good for you or has like a nootropic effect or, you know, something that improves your mood. You're just going to get something that's like not as bad for you as alcohol.
Yeah, yeah.
know? But still not good by any stretch, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, it's 2025, you guys. Are you still drinking alcohol? All right, booze can be a social lubricant up to a point, but let's be real. It can also make you sloppy, weaken your body and mind, and sometimes requires an apology tour the day after a night of drinking. Well, thankfully, there's a better way to relax and connect without the hangover or regret. It's a new discovery of mine called Little Saints, a non-alcoholic cocktail and spirit line designed for people who want to stay sharp, social, and fully present. And unlike those syrupy, sugary mocktails, Little Saints is infused with functional mushrooms to enhance focus, boost mood, and help you unwind, all naturally. They've got 2 product lines to fit any vibe. Their ready-to-drink cans deliver bar-quality flavor with 0 sugar. And if you love mixing drinks, they've got Saint Ember, a mezcal alternative infused with Peruvian Palo Santo, and Saint Juniper, which is a gin alternative crafted with juniper, birch, angelica root, coriander, and cardamom. And no shit, you guys, these things are freaking ridiculously good. And both are powered by lion's mane for mental clarity, deep conversation, and even heightened pleasure. Because in my book, feeling good should not come with a price. Since I loaded up the mini fridge with Little Saints, I literally can't get my hands on them because my wife, Allison, has been chugging them like a beast. So if you want to get yourself a supply, here's what you do. Go to lukestorey.com/littlesaints and use the code Luke to save 20% off your first order. So instead of numbing out this year, be the most present, energized person at the party and take your social game to a whole new level. Hit up lukestorey.com/littlesaints. And again, that code is Luke. That's that's encouraging. It's one of those things like I don't have a lot of awareness of what's going on in the world in that regard. Because I remember like when I quit drinking, I thought the whole world quit drinking the same day, right? And then I go back into the world. I was like, what? People are smoking weed and they're doing coke in the bathroom and drinking. I was like, I thought everyone hit the end of the line. No, you just, you blew it. So you had to stop, but everyone else is still doing it. But I think I am hearing kind of in the periphery more people, even if they don't have like a dependency issue with alcohol, I think more people now than ever are aware that it's really just not good for you. It's like really bad for your brain. It's terrible for sleep. Even if you're not drinking in excess, if you're drinking on a regular basis, it's deleterious to your health.
Yeah. And I think it was like we used to think like one glass of wine a day was good for us. And now all the stuff that's come out in the past 2 years is like, nope, that was a lie.
Yeah.
No glasses of wine are good for you.
Yeah. Like the Mediterranean people and whatnot. Oh, it's because of the wine. It's like, no, they're out in the sun working on a farm all day.
Like eating real food, not like with our industrialized, like we have environmental toxins and then we're like eating shit and then our water and then alcohol. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me about what your motivation was to eventually quit drinking. You make this great non-alc brand and alternative, and like you could have presumably just kept drinking when you felt like it. Also, what kind of point did you get to? Was it a drinking problem or just wanting to be healthy or what?
It was, it's funny in retro, like at the time, I didn't think I had a drinking problem. I just thought like I like to like socialize and I like love the taste of a good strong cocktail. And I was like, oh, this isn't a problem. But I mean, like many people, I have a ton of alcoholism in my family. And my dad has Parkinson's and also really likes wine. And I was, I spent a lot of time alone during COVID and I kind of started seeing my brain slip a little bit. Like I felt like I had brain fog a lot and I really like business and I'm good at numbers. And like, I realized like with some work stuff, I was like, oh, my brain doesn't feel like it's totally there. So then with Little Saints was like the first time I like started drinking less. So I like wouldn't drink during the week. And then I would start taking like a month off here and there, which I definitely never done, and then every time I would go back to drinking, I would be like, oh, that's poison for me. Like it would feel horrible. And I really would see my brain just go in a bad place. Like all of a sudden I would start feeling like clear and positive. And then like, even if I wouldn't drink that much, like I would go back, like for example, I went to a wedding in September 2022, right before I quit. And I hadn't drank a lot for most of the summer, which was like a revelation to me. But I was like, oh, I can like drink in moderation, now that I'm like not doing it all the time. That was like my whole goal. And I went to this wedding and I drank a ton, no more than any of my friends did, but like I drank a bunch and I was just a disaster. All of a sudden I was like, was I like this all the time before? Like I had such anxiety when I was hungover. I was like markedly like depressed, which I hadn't felt in a while. I felt like I felt like I wasn't like really talking to my friends. I was like, this is horrible. And then I found that after that wedding, I came back to New York where I was living at the time. And then because I had drank alcohol there, I was like, oh, I'm going to get back in the habit. So I was like, I would sit down to a bar or a meal with a friend and I would like have this like internal fight with myself on like, are you going to drink alcohol? Yes, you are. No, you're not. Yes, you are. No, you're not. And I was like, wow, this like alcohol decision is like really like there. This is like taking up a lot of space and I know it makes me feel horrible. And like, I don't want to like go down the path of my family. And so I didn't actually intend to quit forever. I was just like, okay, I'm going to take off like even just 6 weeks. It was like, there's this holiday in the non-alc industry called Sober October. Have you heard of this? Like people do Sober October. So I was like mid-September, then I quit and I was like, I'm going to do Sober October. And then actually in November, I could still feel some brain fog. And I was like, I think like the alcohol's still in there. Like I'm going to keep going on this. And I was like meditating and taking a lot of lion's mane and like just trying to like clear my brain. And then December, I was like, well, I never imagined a holiday season without alcohol ever. And I was like, ever. And I was like planning to go back and drink. And I was like, actually, it'd be like a super flex if I could get through this thing without alcohol. And that's when I was kind of telling you, like, people would be like, wait, you're at a holiday party and not drinking. And then after I got through that, like, and also scientifically, they say like, you know, after 3 or 4 months of not drinking alcohol, that's like when you really start to like feel better and like your brain really clears. So then,
wow, that long, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But then it was like dry January. And then after January 2023, I was like, wait, this is amazing. This is like the magic pill that I've been looking for. Like, it's all just like not drinking alcohol ever. And so then I just didn't go back.
Have you had like one drink since that? Are you someone that like?
No, moderation is not my friend. Like, okay. I am like very bad at moderation. I did unintentionally in the summer of 2023, and I was so upset about it. I was at a bar in Wisconsin with my friends, and I ordered a non-alcoholic beer, and I'm sure he gave me an alcoholic beer because I drank half of it, and I started to feel like hazy, and I was like, like, I don't want to like have this beer. So that's the only time I've like actually accidentally drank alcohol. But no, all or nothing, cold turkey.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, I relate to that. I always find my whole decades now of being sober, I've always found it so weird when someone can moderate their alcohol use. I'm just like, you're an alien to me. Remember back in the beginning, I'd be out to dinner or something, and someone would like, maybe one of us would order a glass of wine or something, and I'm not. And I would sit there and like fixate on their glass of wine just to see how quickly they drank it. And then the dinner would end and we'd get up and walk away and there'd be like half a glass of wine. I'm like, dude, you just there's good wine still on the table. What are you doing? They're like, I'm done. Right. My little brother, Andy, was my roommate at one point, and, he'd buy like a 6-pack of Corona or something to put in the fridge, and they would be in there for months. Right. And then, I mean, like one 6-pack until it went bad. Right. It was like turned skunky because he wouldn't drink it. And I remember asking him, like, dude, like, you're not an alcoholic. Why don't you just like drink 4 or 5 beers when you get home from work? Like, why do you have one a month or something? And he's like, oh, I just don't like that feeling. I was like, what? That feeling is everything. That's the whole point, And some people are just wired like that. They just don't have that. I don't know. It's like a fuse that gets lit in some people, the fuse of no moderation. And it's just like, it's like a faucet all the way on or all the way off kind of thing. And I still find it strange when people have that take it or leave it kind of thing,
I don't have that either at all. But I know it's funny, like, because most people, because then, we've asked our customers, like, well, why are you choosing Little Saints if you don't like, you have no intention of quitting? Like, why? They're like, oh, I just like know it's unhealthy, so I want to drink less. And I like the mushrooms in it, and I just like have it on my bar, and I just like drink it instead of alcohol. Like, I would have never done that, but
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was asking you yesterday because these freaking drinks, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, your drinks taste so awesome. It was because I knew you were coming to record, and you sent us these 2 big bottles, and I'm like, so hard not to open them because I'm plowing through the cans, and Allison I think it was the ginger.
Yeah, she loves the ginger. Yeah. I left them. I didn't give them to you. They're hers. They're downstairs.
She's like obsessed. So I know I can't touch those. I didn't want to drink these because I wanted to have them when you showed up for the podcast. I'm just like, dude, thank God they don't have alcohol because I drink them like they have alcohol.
Well, so I have a question for you because I'm drinking the flask, and this is like what's gone viral on TikTok. Is this triggering for you that I'm drinking a flask?
Oh, no, not at all. No, I have no problem being around alcohol. It's like I have like immunity. You know what I mean? Like when it got switched off for me by really a divine intervention, it's a complete non-issue. I would just never even think about it. It's never something I've ever.
What about you drinking a flask though? Like,
no, I don't care.
You could drink a flask and just
no problem.
Yeah, same. That's what I think problem. Too. Like, this isn't. I mean, I definitely like could not be drinking a flask of tequila, but like people are so triggered by this.
Oh, that's
like
funny.
We made it because it's fun. Because like I'm sick of going to restaurants and they'll have like juice mocktails. I'm like, well, I don't want to drink that, so I'm just gonna pour this in my soda
cool.
water.
I used to carry a flask into the concerts and stuff. Yeah. So like, no, I like that. It fits right in your inside pocket. But what I was gonna say was what I asked you yesterday, because these taste so good. And I don't know, I guess if you're a legit mixologist, you can make alcohol cocktails taste really nice too. But I was like, damn, man, if you put alcohol in Little Saints, it would be a bomb ass drink. You know what I mean? And you're like, yeah, people do that too, right? They use it as a mixer or, you know, or just by itself. So like back in the day, I would have been making some serious, like real cocktails.
I think I told you my brothers are hilarious. Love you, Mike and Joy. They're like, I'm never going to not have 2 or 3 martinis when I go out. I'm just never not drinking alcohol, but it's way better if I like mix Little Saints with gin or with Hendrix. And then like basically I'll still have 3 martinis, but I'll have half the alcohol.
Right.
Like,
right.
dude, cool. Great.
Yeah. You're like Trojan horsing healthier evening social drinks into them. Let's talk about, speaking of the flavor, something that's really interesting that I enjoy, which is probably why I like have the tendency to chug these things faster than need be. But like the flavor of juniper and like these different kind of, I don't know if they're essential oils or some kind of extracts, they have like, couple of them have like that kind of burn, that really nice throat burn that you get from alcohol drinks, or they have kind of a, like, I don't know, a smell of like terpenes. There's like very potent kind of plant essence. It's like a plant medicine kind of vibe. So tell me about that process of like how you, figured out what plant essences to put in what to get them to taste just right and not too strong, where you get the raw materials to make them and all that.
Yeah, this is going to be fun because originally, like I worked with my ayahuasca shamans. This is not ayahuasca, but they're like, they know everything about plants. And so I was like, okay, like I know, for example, like on the Saint Ember, like I knew I wanted it to have like a woody, smoky feeling. So like that we have the Palo Santo. So like the long story short of it is like, yes, everything has to have like a really great pure botanical that's like going to be strong. So it's going to like feel like a cocktail and not just like a light little flavor that you're having in like an Olipop or something.
Yeah.
So it's got to have like a real, like more like pungent flavor to it. And that's from a botanical extract. And then like a lot of the ingredients like have a great story to them. So like the Saint Ember that like has like the burn and stuff and the smokiness. So this one, like we sourced the Palo Santo from northern Peru. We worked directly with the manga forest and they source the dead and fallen trees. And then they create an oil out of it, like in their little local community processing facility. And then we ship that to the United States. We have to have a USDA timber permit. We ship it to the United States, and then we have an ingredient producer here, like that makes it food safe, but they create just like a pure extract out of it. So like the point, and that's just like one story to tell you that like, it's like.
I've never heard of anyone ingesting Palo Santo. Everyone burns the little sticks.
I don't think many people do. There's actually a real gin, like an alcoholic gin called Condesa that does like a Palo Santo extract. And there are a couple Palo Santo beers, but to my knowledge, they age the beer in a Palo Santo wood cask. But what's so interesting about like doing the Palo Santo that way, I'm like, well, you know me personally, so I'm like, I love trees, and I like trees have great intelligence because they're in the earth for so long. And like, if I can like help spread tree intelligence, like to more people through these, I will. So anyways, we are doing that because it's like the Palo Santo is in the ground for 30 to 50 years, and then the trees fall down, and then they harvest it and make the oil out of it. And what I learned from this process is it has like a little, like this mild sweetness to it, and people will be like, what sweetener do you use in this? And there's no sweetener in there. And that's because Palo Santo wood is in the fennel and mint family.
Wow.
And you wouldn't know that when you burn it or if it's just like in the wood cask, but when you're extracting the oil out of it, you kind of get those essences out of it, which like is that fun part that I love to learn about. Cause like I used to love like learning those little nuances in wine and learning those new little nuances in spirits. And so especially in the spirit bottles, like we really like we're looking for ingredients that had those like really great, like, like earthy stories.
That's epic. I love that. I mean, Palo Santo is such a great, I don't know, it's just like such a great aroma. And there's a reason why it's in every freaking little crystal store, like everywhere, But I think people have, I've seen online complaining about the sustainability of it, right? Because it's like so trendy and people are chopping down the trees to make little freaking incenses out of. So I'm glad you found the deadfall route, right?
Yeah, no. This forest is like sanctioned. Like we've tried to go there once, but it was rained out. You can only get there during like the season when it's not raining. But no, they have like permits from the government, and I've seen the videos. It's all like dead and fallen trees, and it's actually like a huge like sanctioned forest.
Wow.
And it's great. They during COVID, the community was kind of decimated because not enough people were actually buying from them, because originally they weren't doing the Palo Santo sticks. They were just doing the oil. They use it as mosquito repellent.
Really?
No, legit. I talked to the supplier and I'm like, oh, what sort of like negative energy clearing practices do you guys do? And he's like laughing. He's like, yeah, you gringos, like we use it for mosquito repellent, and they like make candles out of it. But then during COVID, like they had all of this wood that like they had excess like fallen Palo Santo. And so that's when they taught the women in their community to carve sticks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they weren't carving the
funny.
sticks before. They were like doing it certainly for like essential oils and candles, and then for mosquito repellent.
Wow. Wild.
It's so crazy.
Well, my friends, summer is winding down now, and I hope you all lived your absolute best life. But heads up, if you engaged in any sort of restricted diet or took any weight loss drugs to achieve that beach body, it's time to start thinking about what you lost along with that weight. There's actually a good chance that you created a nutrient deficiency that could harm your overall health, so listen up. One of the most critical nutrients to replenish is magnesium. It's pivotal for sleep, stress management, and hormone balance, all of which are key to a healthy weight. And Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers is the best way to get all 7 forms of magnesium that your body needs, ensuring you get the full range of benefits in one easy-to-absorb supplement. Their potent full-spectrum magnesium supports metabolism as well as a healthy insulin response and blood sugar control. And all of that can help you keep at your target weight. So to get on board, head over to buyoptimizers.com/Luke and use the code Luke10 to save 10% off on Magnesium Breakthrough. And remember, true health isn't just about losing weight, it's about nourishing your body with the nutrients it needs to survive. So hit up buyoptimizers.com/Luke and don't forget that code Luke10. How does the taste testing go? I'm always fascinated by not so much like if somebody's using synthetics, you imagine it's like some factory in New Jersey that makes like perfume and fake flavorings, which is less interesting. And there's probably like a kind of established science on how to achieve like a blueberry flavor thing or whatever. But since yours are all natural and plant-based, I'm imagining there's much more trial and error. Did you go through like formulations that tasted disgusting?
Oh my God, St. Juniper, this is
good?
Like, I have PTSD from this process because St. Juniper took us at least 8 months that I can remember. I probably blacked out a couple of them, and we were like, okay, we want to do like old school gin flavor. So of course, juniper. And then I've got to have trees in there. So it has like birch in there and angelica root, and it's got a little bit of, we were trying cedar at first and then that didn't work, but the birch is the tree in there. And like all those together actually taste quite perfumey if you don't do it right. And so we had like 7 months of batches of St. Juniper where I was like, nope, we're drinking perfume again. Like it was like undrinkable. And they'd be like, well, this is the finest juniper extract. And then we would put a little more cardamom and we would put a little bit more like coriander. And then we finally used yuzu. It's just like, it's a total art. And it's funny, and you need a couple people involved because the formulator is always going to love it.
Right.
You know, like our formulator like loves Hendrick's gin. And he's like, no, this tastes exactly like my favorite Hendrick's. I'm like, nope, tastes like perfume. Like we got to go back to the drawing board. So you've got to be really like tough and just like know what you want to get to.
How do you cleanse your palate? Like I imagine if you're going in and doing these taste tests, I mean, it would be difficult to differentiate the different, batches or versions on the same day. It's like, how do you whittle them down without them all just kind of tasting the same?
Oh gosh.
I mean, is that why it takes 8 months? Because you just have to keep going back and again.
I
and
wish
again
I had a better process. I've been doing it for a while. Yeah, no, he'll give you like 5 different little bottle samples and then you'll just write down what you think of everyone and send the notes back and then have the team taste them, I definitely like have the team taste stuff and then like I'll sometimes go there and we'll do a taste thing. It's like so many iterations. And
Yeah,
it's it would be frustrating to be a formulator with me being like, it just needs a little bit more birch. He's like, really? But yeah, it just takes you got to be a stickler to it.
And where do you see, this particular category going? As you said, like alcohol consumption's going down, the non-alc scene is growing. I mean, do you see ever them kind of meeting somewhere in the middle? Is that even possible, or do people just love to get wasted too much?
I mean, I don't think people are going to stop drinking alcohol. I just think like non-alc is going to take like a major market share from it, like 1 billion in non-alc and 320 billion in alcohol. Like there's a lot of room to go in the middle there. And I think, our culture is built on music and restaurants and bars, and people still want to gather at those places, even though like you and I know people are gathering in our homes much more, but still like, I just think that and I know from a fact of people like reaching out to us and needing non-alcs for their menus. I think that like this year and over the next couple years, we're going to see, whereas like sometimes now people will have a good non-alc menu, but most of the time they don't. Like, I think like they're going to have like a good non-alc menu because they need to bring people in. Like Gen Z is like not drinking. They drink.
Really?
Oh my God. The stats are like they spent $3 billion on alcohol last year, and Gen X and millennials spent somewhere around like 32 billion. So they're spending 10%, like 90% less on alcohol. And so either all these places go out of business or they step up and they like get a big non-alc menu.
Wow, that's encouraging. I would think it would be the opposite with the level of stress and insanity in the world. I don't know how young people like even are dealing with it. I think
they're like also, I mean, I know they're like drinking less alcohol. I think cannabis changed things a lot, right. Like people are using cannabis, like maybe a little bit more drugs or something, but also Gen Z is really like focused on their mental health, like much more so. I didn't even know what mental health was.
I didn't either.
I was like, cool, I'm going to get
when you're nuts, you
wasted.
usually don't know there's another way to be.
All the time. Like that's going to be like my mental health was like, I need a drink. Now that's going to help me.
Totally. I remember years ago when I first got our dog Cookie, I wanted to take her on the airplane. So I got her like the emotional support certification or whatever. And they had me, in order to get it, you had to do like an online session with a psychiatrist, like legit, And I was kind of just doing it just to, kind of get the free pass. And I did the intake or the assessment with the psychiatrist over Zoom. And at the end, she's like, oh yeah, you definitely qualify. You have like super PTSD and mental health issues and all this stuff. I was like, oh, okay. I thought I was just normal. She's like, no, you got some serious problems, But if you don't know, you don't know, right? Like
yeah.
if your baseline is just kind of out there, then you just figure, oh, that's how everyone's just kind of getting by. That was a real wake up call for me. I was like, okay, I got some more work to do.
Yeah. We're really kind of curious about how nightlife shifts. Like think of all the cultural things that alcohol fuels, like certainly like at concerts and stuff, like non-alc, like Liquid Death's already doing it, like people are like going to concerts and maybe being sober, maybe taking drugs and like having water. And so like non-alc goes in there. We're interested. It's kind of like, does club life stay the same? Like does it shift a little bit earlier? If you're not drinking as much alcohol, like maybe you like are prioritizing your sleep and you want to get to bed a little earlier. So we're kind of like, I'm really interested to see where culture, like how like less drinking alcohol shifts culture a little bit.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you have a lot of, here in Austin, like there's a place called Kuya. It's kind of a social club with saunas and cold plunges and float tanks and this kind of stuff, and an elixir bar. And they have a lot of, events at night. I know that's not just Austin, but there seems to be, thankfully, an emergence of alcohol-free social gatherings and kind of wellness centers and, I don't know, meditation studios and things like that, sound baths, like all this kind of stuff that's taken off over the past few years. I think people that go to those kind of social gatherings probably still want to imbibe in something. You don't just want to sit there and like, what do I do with my hands? It's like, it's totally just natural. You want to drink in your hand. So I see the potential of, drinks like Little Saints really being a perfect fit for that, where you have something that has a really positive effect, that's really good for you, tastes awesome, and also can act as a sort of social lubricant and give you something to do, right? Otherwise you're just kind of, oh, we're socializing, but you're not actually like, there's nothing to do with yourself while you're doing it. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons drinking is great for social activities, because it's like, oh, what are you guys all doing in here? Oh, we're all just having a drink. We're not just standing here. We're drinking something, right?
Yeah.
We're just kind of wired in that way.
Yeah. I think, it's interesting though. I'm thinking of my friends from home, and like, maybe they would, like, they're great, but like, I don't know if they would like go to like a sound bath or like cold plunges. Like, I think there are still a lot of people that want to just like do what they already do, which is go to bars and restaurants and clubs and like, just have a very easy one-to-one swap.
Yeah.
Like they, like a lot of people like what their life is like now. Like kind of like me, actually. Like we get invited to the sound baths. Like I love that too. But like I like to go out and dance. Like I want to go to space and like kind of rage. And like, no, right. And like I just, it kind of like, I don't want to like, as someone that doesn't drink alcohol anymore, like I want my socializing to kind of like look like I like, like take the things that I used to like out of that. Like I know that a lot of people, that I'll talk to, it's like they're afraid of like their whole life having to change. And that's where like I think non-alc can really be helpful, because it's like maybe some people will want to do the whole switch, and start doing wellness stuff all the time. But like some people are like, nope, still want to go to that bar. I just might want to like have my second drink as Little Saints. Yeah,
good point. I want to let the listeners know you can find the show notes for today's episode at lukestorey.com/Megan. And if you guys want to check out Little Saints, here's what you do. You go to lukestorey.com/Little Saints, and we've got a code. I love when there's a code. The code is, of course, Luke. You get 20% off, and we'll put all of that in the show notes. Tell me about what it's like to go on Shark Tank.
It's fun.
Yeah, I actually want to start watching that show again, because I knew nothing about business. I already owned a business for like a number of years. And, I guess there's a reason why I'm not a gazillionaire, because I didn't go to business school or watch Shark Tank. So I had no clue about like raising money and equity and venture capitalists. Like still know very little about that. But having watched that show quite a few times years ago, I was like, oh, this is how it works. But I would be so mortified for the contestants that didn't do well, and I'm just like, oh my God, I could never put myself under that kind of scrutiny. But some of them would do well, and then, everyone would invest and they live happily ever after, you think or hope. But like, I could never do something like that. I literally just don't have the testicular fortitude to put myself in that kind of vulnerable, vulnerable position on television. So run me through that experience.
It was, so you have to do a 90-second prepared pitch. And that was like the part I was really afraid to do, like, because I'm not good scripted, and they're like, no, like when you see so you go on the show and you pitch in front of the 5 Shark Tank judges. And when you see people's pitch, like that is like pre-rehearsed with the ABC producers. So you don't say anything that's like not kosher, because it's still like owned by Disney. And they just want to make sure that it's going to be good. And like the team was actually like great and super pros. So I was super nervous about that. I was like, I'm going to fuck this up. Like, I don't want to like look like an idiot, but somehow I got the pitch down. And then after that, it was super fun, because then you're just reacting. Like then like the 5 judges are shooting questions at you. And like, I went in knowing my numbers and I could answer the questions, and I didn't really have time to think or be nervous. And actually, this sounds ridiculous, but like really, there's no cameras in your face. Like the cameras are all like really far away. So you're sort of oddly at a far distance from the judges. But other than that, it does feel like a real investor negotiation. So it was actually really fun.
Really?
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like a meeting. There's just more lights on and.
Yeah. And they're all characters, right? Like Kevin, like they're being like a little bit like, maybe like a little bit more character, but I mean, I don't know. Some venture capital people are kind of characters too. So and they're just firing numbers and they want to know real stuff. And so you're really just like, oh, okay, I know how to answer a business question.
And where was the company at that time?
So the company I filmed in June 2024, and the company we were...
Oh, so that's pretty recent.
Yeah, it's pretty recent. I was just on in October.
I got to watch that.
I'm going to
find your episode.
Funny. So we were doing we had done $5 million in like our trailing 12 months revenue. And I really wanted to make a deal with Mark Cuban, like legit. Like I was like, you know what? I feel like he's invested in some health and wellness things. Like I think he would be great. And right away, he was like, yeah, I'm not investing in your category. He was super supportive and cool on the show. And I was like, really? Like that bummed me out. And then I got an offer from Rashawn Williams, who's a Geff shark, and he gave me like a $5 million valuation. And I was like, that's 1 times trailing revenue. Like market, if I went out to like the venture community, it would be like 3 to 4. So I'm like, wait, you want like a 75%, you know, like a 75% discount? And then they're like, oh, but you know, we're going to bring so much value. And then Kevin O'Leary offered me a $3.5 million valuation. I was like, what? Like, I mean, so these deals, like, it wasn't hard for me to say no. I was kind of trying to like be like, guys, like, why would I do that? Like, we've got really good numbers. Like, this is a growing category. Like, we're taking off. Like, I'm not going to, if I would have taken either of those deals, like, that would have showed that they don't really value the company. And it wasn't, they were only offering $500,000, which would get us like 6 months.
Wow.
You know, so that I was like, well, then I would take your horrible deal. And then the next investor I would go to would think I was an idiot for taking your deal. So I would be in an even worse place. So like once I was getting those bad deals, it wasn't hard for me to say no. Cause I was like, who would do business like that?
What was the vibe like when they're off? Because they don't offer everyone deals, right? Some people, they're just like, nah, not interested. You guys suck. You're not going anywhere. Was it like, I don't know. Did you have any people pleaser tendencies or anything that came up that made it difficult to say no
so
when you're in that
one,
kind of, that's a different pressure than like walking in an investor meeting with a bunch of low ballers and you're like, don't waste my time. I'm out of here. But I don't know. I would feel like if you're on the show, you're kind of beholden to take the deal.
Well, so Rashawn gave me an offer, then Kevin gave me the worst offer, and then they both came in together and they gave me an offer at a $5 million valuation. And that I was like, oh, like rarely do 2 sharks go in together. And but you have to make the decision right there on the spot.
Can you renege and then afterward be like, yeah, you know, never mind?
No, I mean... they tell you, I think they would be pissed and probably not. I wouldn't have wanted, you know, like, yeah. But so I was definitely having a moment. So I just like put my hand on my heart and I checked in with my intuition. I was like, no, that's still stupid. So I just said, thank you and left.
Do you think, I mean, I'm assuming that was a solid decision.
It was a solid, I'm fundraising now. Like that would have been, I don't know how I would have explained like why I took that deal. Then they would be like, so you don't value your company that highly. So I'm not going to value your company that highly. And like, clearly you're an idiot for taking that deal. So
because
like,
if you took on that capital at a subpar valuation and then down the road in 6 months, you pitch a higher valuation to a potential investor and like, yeah, but 6 months ago you said it was only worth this. Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly. And also what I didn't mention was 4 months after I filmed the show, we did close a small round at a $20 million valuation.
Whoa.
Yeah. And now we're raising it like double that. So if I would have done that and then it would have came out on the show 4 months later that we'd closed at that low one, I would have just been screwed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's wild. What were the other, in your episode, how did the other contestants fare? I mean, does anyone go on that show and like score big and they like, acknowledge the like a legitimate valuation for their company and they invest and get some equity?
Poppy, which just sold to Pepsi for $2 billion. They were on Shark Tank.
Okay.
And they took a deal.
Okay.
When they were little and they gave away, I think 10% of the company. I could be wrong, but like certainly like a lot of times it works out. You know, we were the other people that were on the show at the same time. They were very like, they were not as far along as Little Saints was in terms of revenue. So I think it can be really helpful. Like I'm sure it's really helpful anyways, but like, you know, if you don't have much revenue and like you get a shark to believe in you and then they can come on and be an advisor, I could see how that could be really helpful.
So if your valuation is relatively low, but they see the potential in what you're doing and they go, oh man, we could turn a couple levers here and like crank up the value of this company.
Right. And probably if you don't have any like much sales yet, it's really hard right now. I mean, I've been fundraising for 10 years. Like it's really hard to raise money for an idea these days just because of the economy. Like, whereas there used to be like, you know, raising seed capital for an idea that's not really happening much anymore, especially in the consumer space. So it'd be really
This is
great.
cool. I'm like in business school right now.
Yeah. So it'd be really great. Like if you get on Shark Tank and you get one of the sharks to get excited about your idea and then they help you put that along. Yeah, no, I do like a little bit of advising for startups. And I'm like, listen, I don't know what to tell you. Like a lot of investors got burned because a lot of the ideas haven't come to fruition in the past 5 years. So the climate out there is different and kind of rough. I mean, we're really lucky because we're farther along. It's just hard to raise money for like an earlier stage company.
I recently signed up for this subscription service called Quantum Upgrade, and it's been a major game changer for my energy, EMF resilience, and the overall feeling in our home. Let me explain how it works. Quantum energy is the energy that supports all life in the universe. It's nonlinear, non-local, and has an immense potential for health when it's harnessed and directed to you or into your living environment. Through many years of research and development, Quantum Upgrade created one of the world's most potent sources of usable quantum energy. So when you sign up for their service, Quantum Upgrade associates your home, car, phone, business, and even your pet with this energy. The energy you receive with the Quantum Upgrade is a high consciousness field that you can even customize on the fly. For example, I like to set different booster levels at specific times, such as before a podcast recording or during sleep. It's pretty awesome. The Quantum Upgrade energy streaming service has already been studied and tested by independent institutes, doctors, and labs with phenomenal results in placebo-controlled double-blind studies. It's been shown to improve red and white blood cells and even reverse stages 1 and 2 of blood clotting in only a few minutes. You can try it right now risk-free with a 15-day free trial by visiting quantumupgrade.io. All you got to do is use the code Luke15 to activate your free trial. Again, you'll find it at quantumupgrade.io. Is there any, for those listening that aren't interested in how business works, forgive me, but I'm just learning as we go. Is there any risk at any point, say with a company like Little Saints, where, you as the founder have a very specific vision and you have standards and a criteria for, the quality of your product and purity and the intentionality and kind of the spirit behind it? Is there any risk at some point of investors putting pressure on you to start cutting corners and like, we don't really need the good Palo Santo from, northern Peru, like we can get this synthetic one or whatever? Is there any like risk of kind of losing your grip on the, on the integrity of a company if there's a bunch of money behind it that wants to do something different than you? There's always a risk. Like there are a lot of like founders who've gotten fired as a CEO and then they'll put like a corporate one in. I mean, that's why I've raised money kind of like a renegade on this one, because in my previous companies, I'd raise a lot of venture capital and then there would be a board and then there'd be like all these people involved in decisions. And like no one was ever doing anything bad in those companies. Like I think the majority of investors, like the majority of people are good, but like the less control that like a founder has in the company, like the more chance there is to do that. So like it's kind of wild. We've got until now, I just put in a board and it's like my friend who's our major investor and my brother. Oh, really?
Yeah. And so we haven't raised any institutional capital. So like, and that's how I'll just keep this thing. I just won't do it any other way unless. So
is the difference in that kind of potential, let's say, negative influence, is the difference between angel investors, just a guy like me that's like, hey, I like Little Saints, here's 500 grand, give me a little equity, versus going the, like with an actual fund?
Yeah, if you go with an actual fund and they put in real capital, they're going to want a board seat. And so like on Series A, like I will give away a board seat happily because it'll probably be a great investor. But then if you have to keep, like Series A is like your first big funding or maybe seed. But then like if I raise a Series B and a Series C, then the founder has to give away more and more board seats, and the boards are what controls the company. So like the less control a founder has, like the more, possible it is for like decisions that like the founder wouldn't make on their own. Like they kind of don't have control over those major decisions anymore.
Interesting. That would explain why sometimes you'll see like in the wellness space, a supplement or a healthy snack food or something like that. When they first launch, it's super above board and their ingredients are awesome. And then like over time, you see them start to degrade. I've always wondered like, what happened? You guys nailed it. They sneak seed oils in or some weird shit starts to happen. You pick up and read the ingredients, you're like, wait, what? I've been eating this? I mean, sometimes that happens
No,
too,
exactly.
right?
Then what happens is like the fund, whoever puts the money in, then they get their analyst in there and then they're looking at your COGS, which is your cost of goods sold. And then they're like, that's crazy that you're spending that much money on your mushrooms. Like you got to get a new supplier. And like, if you don't have as much control of your company anymore, because you have a bunch of different institutional investors, then like that could get out of control. It won't with ours, but like I'm lucky because this isn't my first rodeo and I'm older, you know. So, but I could see like how I could let things get out of control if I hadn't done this before.
Do you think having your lawyer background has helped you in that way?
Oh yeah. That's like that's when I'm grateful.
Because you're super chill and easygoing, Miami girl, well, former Wisconsin, New York. You've lived all these places, but you're like super laid back. You do plant medicines. I mean, I could see, I don't know, someone seeing you as like a pushover or like easy to dupe. I'm sure you've come into situations where they have no idea. Like
they have no idea that there is like a lion waiting and like, don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
It's fun. I never really use my law degree anymore, except in situations like that where I'm like, oh no, I know what to do here. Like I know what things should look like.
That's so cool. It's like God, you know, puts us through these.
I know, it's so weird.
You know, these different avenues in life, right? Where we get into something, we become proficient at it, but it's not necessarily our calling. And then at some point, some of us are lucky enough to realize like, yeah, this ain't it. Even if you're successful doing it, right? You go, this isn't fulfilling. It's really a gift, I think, when you can take some of the things you learned when you were on the path that wasn't your real purpose, but kind of export them into your new lane that is your purpose, which you've clearly done. I mean, I think that's probably kind of rare. That's really a gift that you've been able to do that.
Yeah, no, it feels like it's super gift. And I can like kind of like, it's fun. I can give friends some like advice. I can like, you know.
I'm going to call you when I get an idea.
Yeah, for sure.
I see friends of mine like pop up companies and I'm just like, how do you do that? Like, I have no idea.
Let's do it.
I just keep sitting here recording podcasts, you know, month after month after month. I go, I guess this is what I do. I don't know, you know, but every once in a while I get an idea and I just go, yeah, that's probably a good idea, but I have no idea how to do that. So it's good to,
you got a friend.
Yeah, it's good to have mentors. You know, I got a couple. I reach out to business advice here and there, but in terms of like launching an actual company, it's just I think for most of us it's a very daunting idea. If you don't have any background in it, you don't know where to start. You might have a great idea, but you know, how do you actually get proof of concept and put it into action and get some coin behind it to actually make it a thing? You know? Yeah.
No, I mean, it takes a lot of trial and error. Like I funded Little Saints on my own for the first year, then my family put money in the second year, and I made a lot of mistakes during those years, which like, thank God, you know, like I had that savings and stuff, but it's hard. Like there's no way you're not going to make mistakes and lose a ton of money. And I've learned so many lessons because I've like beat myself up so hard and but like there is no playbook or else people would be doing it all the time.
Right. Everyone would own a company.
Everyone would just like sell whatever they feel like selling. And so that's kind of what I always like try to model for my team is like, we are all going to fail all the time. Like you got to like fail fast and then just go back and do it again. Like that's the only reason this thing still exists. I mean, it's almost went out of business like a couple times in the first couple years. And I just keep being like, okay, like reps, like I keep going. And then every time I'll just like learn a new lesson and I won't make the mistake twice. And I feel like, yeah, it just takes a bunch of reps.
How much does your spiritual and meditation practice help with your ability to be flexible with those kind of ups and downs?
Oh my gosh, so much. I feel like if I didn't have my morning practice and my spiritual practice, it would just, I mean, Little Saints would for sure be out of business.
Really?
Oh my God, there's so many big swings and like so many times when we've had like no money in the bank or like so many times, you know, I got canceled. Remember?
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, during like the whole pandemic censorship
No,
phase?
we named this, we did a stupid thing. We fucked up. We called St. Ember. We called it St. Mezcal when we launched. And Mezcal is a protected denomination of origin. And we had no bad intentions, but like that's a Paloma, that's a margarita. And we were trying to like show people what it would taste like. And we made it clear it wasn't a mezcal, but like for one day, like my face was all over the internet. And
really?
Like, yeah. Like
wait, does someone have a trademark on
No, it was like, they called me out for cultural appropriation.
Oh my God, because you're not Mexican and you
no. So listen, we fucked up, right? Like it was not like our intention.
I don't know. That would be debatable to me. It's like, what? I'm a white. I can't make like a tortilla company or something. I mean,
well, it's not like made with agave from Mexico, and we were just trying to evoke the flavor.
Okay.
And so we like changed the name right away, and like we we did the right thing. We changed the name right away. We donated to Sacred, which is this nonprofit that donates to indigenous people who harvest agave for mezcal. And like, we did a bunch of right things. We said sorry. But like during that time period, Little Saints would have for sure absolutely went out of business if I didn't have my spiritual practice. Like, granted, I wasn't perfect. I was still like freaking out. Like, I was self-funding it at that time, but I really just went in deep, and I was like, okay, like my intention here is like really pure. Like, I know this is doing good for people, like this liquid, like, and the intention, like we pray to the tanks, like.
Really?
Yeah. There's like a joy prayer put in these, and like a joy prayer put in those. Like the first batch of every run, I put my hands on the tank and I put a prayer in there. So like, but the point is like, yeah, if I wouldn't have had my spiritual practice during that time, we would have absolutely gone out of business, because I knew enough to like, take all of the blame myself. Like I didn't want to make anyone on my team feel like they were responsible, because I want them to be able to take risks and stuff. And so I could kind of just like, that took a lot of self-love. Like, I was getting horrible DMs for a while, and
Really?
It just was like, all right, like.
I think that's a case of like, people have too much time on their hands. Like, I mean, there's like such way bigger humanitarian issues in the world. But hey, I don't know. I don't come from a agave farming family. I won't pretend to admit, my lack of understanding in that area. But I don't know, man. To me, sometimes this shit just gets like, wow, you can't win. It's like, what do you know?
Yeah, I worked through that in an ayahuasca ceremony.
You did? Did you go through like a whole shame?
Oh, like so much shame. And I think if I had not already kind of like just been able to identify shame, and I knew how to work with it with medicine and meditation, and then like I had my practices, like I think that would have derailed us, and like just like in a not a good way. And then also like I keep the vibe, like I definitely didn't keep the vibe perfectly during that time period, like at all. Like, God bless Katie, my business partner, like I definitely made a lot of mistakes, but I couldn't just go downhill. Like I still had to like show up and like show everyone that I love this company and I know we're doing well, and like, yeah, we made a mistake, but we're going to fix it. And like, I had to keep the vibe high. And that was like the craziest ceremony, really. Because like every day I would wake up with this like horrible like anxiety feeling. And I'm just like, no, you're going to work through this, and you're going to show up and like show everyone why they want to come to work.
I think the kind of social phenomenon of cancellation is, it's like a type of ego death, right?
Oh, yeah.
It hasn't happened to me in any meaningful way, but a couple trolls here and there. And it's like, it really challenges your false sense of self, right? If you have like a sort of social or public persona, and like you're a personal brand, or in your case, you're like the face of a brand and you're forging ahead with an idea, when you're under attack, it's very difficult to stay in your knowing that who's being attacked is not actually you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a projection that you put out in the world, or projections that people are putting on you. But meanwhile, like if you didn't look at your phone and see those angry posts, you would be totally fine. It's actually like a false construct of an attack on something that's not even actually who you are in a way.
No, completely. And I really leaned into the paradigm of the creator versus the critic. Like you can't be a creator and a critic at the same time. Like creators, like we're in the joy and open and the love space, and like any creation that we do comes through that space. And then there are like, the people that were attacking me were critics. Like, I don't know what their like personal, like, like energy is like, but when you're in the critic, you are acting out of fear and anger and shame. You're trying to shame someone. You're trying to make them feel fearful. You're trying to you're showing your anger. And so with the team and I, we just leaned into that. And I'm like, listen, we are creators. Like, we are not critics. We are not getting we're not getting stuck in this shame loop. Like, we're not going to give too much energy to that, because we need to keep on creating. And yeah, this one did not go well, and we're going to fix it. But I think that really leaning into that creator space, and that was a good thing for our brand, because we could lean into that. And everyone on the team that's joined recently, they know that happened. And it's listen, there's no this, we are creators, and you guys can take big swings and wrists and like not culturally anymore, you know, but like we're done with that. But like, you know, I want people we're always like, if we come from good intentions and then we're creating like, that's like, I think that's why our brand does so well, because we're really intentionally like making sure our team is not in that fear, anger, shame space.
Well, I mean, you in the position you're in, I'm assuming you're the one that really sets the tone for the culture of your company too, right? That's like a whole other responsibility. It's not only like, you know, financial success and keeping everyone's paychecks coming in, but it's like, I think that's one of the reasons I've never really liked having employees, because I don't know if I'm together enough to set the culture, you know? It's like people are going to follow your lead. You're the leader, right? So it's like even you can say one thing, but what you model in your energy and your behavior is what's going to, you know, either make your company thrive or it's going to infect your company with some kind of neurosis and dysfunction. And then you're sitting there with like a screwed up team that's supposed to support you and you feel like it's their fault, but actually I'm not saying you, this has been my experience, tracing it back. Well, where did this like toxic office, you know, sort of environment come from? It's like, oh yeah, I come in every day totally pissed off and frustrated or scared or whatever. And then it seems to kind of spread like wildfire. And next thing you know, you have a bunch of really unhappy people trying to, you know, fulfill a mission.
No, for sure. And by the way, I am not perfect at all. Like during Shark Tank time, like right around the time we were airing, like I was stressed and then I could see it in my team. That they were like, you know, there was a subtle like, yeah, this isn't so fun when Megan's being a bitch. Like that a bit, you know, but just like not as fun as I usually am. And then in January, like, you know, my sister has terminal cancer and like I was just going through some shit with my family and I was like showing up to work, like not my general like good energy self. And I can see that right away in the team. And so it's like, man, like having a team and being a founder like that is like a constant spiritual practice because you could see your energy affecting other people. And then you're like, I can't have this happen. Like I need to get it together.
It's kind of, I imagine, I'm not a parent. You don't have kids, do you?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So we're not parents yet, at least. It's probably very similar to having a few kids, right? It's like no matter what you say to them, they're just going to model your behavior, right? It's like the mirror neuron thing. When you walk in a room and if everyone's kind of looking to you from a position of leadership, it doesn't really matter what you say or what your fucking, you know, company mission on the wall is.
Like,
it's
what did my agenda say today? It's like, am I like a little bit snappy? Like, am I like, you know, really like looking people in the eye and like thanking them for their ideas? Or am I just like in a closed off space that everyone
By the way,
can
thank
feel?
you, Jared. Thank you for doing such a great job every day, buddy. Don't let me forget that. I was actually meant to tell him that today because I was thinking about it. I was like, man, it's so nice. I don't have to worry about anything. Dude just comes in and makes sure the podcast happens. And I used to do everything myself back in the day. So no joke, Jared. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Pretty soon we're going to get you a mic so I can be like, Jared, look that thing up, you know, like they do on some podcasts.
Oh yeah, totally.
He'll fact check shit for me. You know, actually don't fact check me because I'm probably wrong a lot of the time. What else was I going to ask you? Oh yeah, I know what it was. You have a really funny and interesting kind of social media marketing, I don't know, persona. Like you guys make these super wacky, very fun.
Yeah, we're like whack jobs.
Yeah, you guys are like nuts in a great way.
Yeah,
like,
that's the vibe.
So I want you guys, you know, again, go to the show notes at lukestory.com/Megan and we'll link to your Instagram and your TikTok and stuff. And
our Instagram is Little Saints Co.
Okay.
And then our TikTok is Little Saints Co. too.
Okay, cool.
So I think what you're referring to is the character videos.
Yeah, like you guys have costumes. I don't know. It's like ridiculous, but for some reason not annoying. Like you want to keep watching because I don't know, it's just funny and it's very, I don't know, like with like your branding is very elevated. And if I had never met you and just went to your website and not social media, I'd just be like, ooh, this is like a very highbrow, non-alc, like elevated brand. And then when I saw your social, I was like, dude, these guys are so goofy. You're just like totally screwing around all the time. Like, how do you get anything done? Like, rather than, I don't know, was there a point like rather than, oh, let's get like this really expensive marketing agency to come in and
oh my God, we've made so many
really
mistakes.
Like curate everything and, you know, try to create, I don't know, like kind of a manufactured persona. Was there a point that you did that and went, this feels fake, we're just going to keep it real? Or did you just come in and go like, we're just going to be ourselves and just like cut loose?
We made a lot of mistakes. We've had like 2 different social media agencies and like It's just, listen, if you want to have an authentic brand, like, and then you hire a social media agency, I'm sure there are some out there that are great, but then they're just going to like have like some like, you know, young person on their team, like create something, and like, they're not like infusing any authenticity into the thing. So yes, we've made like a ton of mistakes. And then like Katie is my business partner. She's our chief creative officer, and her and I are like totally ridiculous. And we were like, all right, like agencies, like we just like keep burning money on this. And so in the summer of 2023, like Katie took over our Instagram, and we just like started posting, and it was like, oh, we can do this ourselves. I think a lot of times when you start a company and you have some like imposter syndrome for sure, and you have some self-worth issues, and you're like, I've never like run a social media account before. Like, I don't know how to do this. I have to hire someone to do this. But then you hire someone to do it. And what we found was we were spending more time managing the agency and telling them what we wanted to do. And then we were like, let's just do this ourselves. So then Katie and I started like being in the videos, and then we started doing like better than ever. And I think it's because it was like people were feeling something like authentic to it. And then the character videos. So what Luke's talking about, what you're talking about is so you know, because you're in the space, it's like when people go to describe lion's mane or reishi or like so many different supplements, everyone's kind of using the same words. And I feel like sometimes I was just hearing like words.
It's an
adaptogen.
It's
an adaptogen and it's a stress reliever, and, you know, like get into your flow and all that stuff. And we were like, all right, one of our, like the thing we say all the time is like show, not tell. And we didn't want to just be like, meh, 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 like talking words. So we were like, okay, if each of our main functional ingredients, which are lion's mane, reishi, terpenes, and damiana, if each of those had a personality, what would the personality be? And then so Katie and I just made it up. And then I love doing weird craft shit. So I like made up the costumes. And so, Katie is reishi and lion's mane. And reishi, they're just ridiculous. So reishi is like a wellness girl from LA, and she's like really chill. Like nothing really bothers her. She's like totally like highbrow and just like, you know, like chilled out. And then lion's mane is kind of like a biohacker, like more like nerdy dude. Like he's like got like a bow tie, and he's like always lifting weights and like cold plunging and like focus and like, you know, just like optimization. Yeah. And then Damiana, which is in some of our cans in the St. Juniper, you know, it's like a heart opener. It's a little bit of aphrodisiac. So then I dress up like Damiana, and I'm basically like a sex coach and like just like being ridiculous. And then people like think like, oh, Damiana loves sex. And then Terpene Queen needs a little bit of like a better character for development, but she looks like an herb plant thing, and she's always like smelling, and she's like just pretty light and bubbly. So we're trying to show what the ingredients feel like through these wacky characters. And I don't know. I don't.
And it's working.
It's working.
Like
I mean,
people get it.
Yeah, I think people.
I mean, it's all communication, right? I mean, that's the thing. I think we think about marketing, and to your point of this really kind of contrived, like, oh, what's trending right now? What's going to go viral? It's like, dude, you could never keep up with that, right? It's like you were showing me your viral TikTok video with, was a couple million views, and it's like
2.2 million
it's
views.
Just like,
that's me having not showered for a week. I'm wearing my brother's hat from 1999. I'm at a basketball game with my nephew, and I have two nasty looking hot dogs on my plate, and I'm pouring this flask of St. Ember into soda water, and like my nephew's being like, what's that? Oh, but yeah, you made Little Saints, 2.2 million views. Like social media makes no sense. But I think the reason that one went viral is because it's like just organic and authentic. Like my brother just like happened to grab the phone and film us. And then the second is, unfortunately, what we were talking about in the kitchen before is like, there's the good side of it is like, we're showing our authenticity. Like we're not rehearsing any of the shit. It's just out there on the internet. And then the second thing is, unfortunately, like the negative comments. We got a lot of positive comments, but a lot of people like didn't realize this was non-alcoholic. And they're like, you're teaching children to be an alcoholic.
Oh, you got Karen'd.
Yeah. So we got a lot of Karens on the comments too.
There's billions of them out there.
There's a lot of them.
But hey, like, I'd be fine with that. Like, thanks for so much engagement. You made my post go viral.
Yeah. And then there's people who is good. There were like people fighting them back, and they'd be like, it's non-alcoholic. So yes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome. And I love what you're up to. You have great energy, great ideas. You're like you're a really good, combination of skills to bring a really cool product into the mainstream, because of your background. Like you have the business savvy part of you. You got the goofy, give zero shits about whatever part, you know, working with plant medicines. You got your shaman blessing the tanks of product. It's like, I don't know, it's just cool. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's epic. I'm so glad we had a chance to meet.
This was so fun.
I knew when we jumped in the car, I was like, oh, this girl's cool.
Yeah.
Like when you go to, I don't know, you go to a retreat or intensive, probably even more so when there's only 3 cohorts, you know, then you're like, well, I hope I get along with them because there's no other choices, right? If you go to something, there's 25 people, you're going to vibe with 2 or 3 people. You don't have to worry about it. But we got in the car. I was like, this girl's cool, man. She's got her own company, making cool shit, you know, working on herself, doing the deal, man. That's the kind of people I like to hang out with.
Yeah, cool. No, we got so lucky. I felt the same way. I was like, all right, cool. And then we had Peter too.
Yeah, Peter's freaking awesome. I haven't talked to him, I think, since our last like integration call. But he was on fire, man. That dude is like making massive changes in life.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's really cool to see.
Yeah.
All right, so last question for you. Who have been 3 teachers or teachings in general that have influenced your life and made you who you are?
One of them, the teaching, is just like a practice that I do. It's the Hawaiian thing that's like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. So I do that all the time. And then my friend Lindsay taught me to say like, I'm listening. So I'll do like, thank you, I love you, I'm listening. And that's been like, you know, because I've always like, I meditate and do yoga in the morning. And then I was like, oh gosh, but then I get derailed during the day. Like I need just like a quick little practice. So I do like, thank you, I love you, I'm listening, I think a couple times an hour.
Really?
Yeah, just like in my head.
That's cool.
I did it a couple times while we were on the pod.
Really?
If I felt like I just like lost my, I don't know, my focus for something. Yeah. And
so it's like a little anchor practice to bring you back into your center.
Yeah. And like I'm listening, just like remembering that like I'm not this like robot and I'm like not in control of everything. Like I'm listening to the divine and I'm, I'm like part of something bigger.
So it's kind of like, you know, putting up your satellite dish going like, okay, ready to receive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just remembering that like, it's not like me pulling every lever here and I can't control every situation. Like, it's like, okay, I'm part of a web and a hive and like, okay, what else is up there? So that's one of them. Another one is just my practice with trees. Like I ground all the time. I put my head on a couple trees every day. And like, however weird that sounds, like it
doesn't sound weird to me. It would have a few years ago.
Yeah.
Until I saw trees talking to me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dude, I had Zach Bush on and he was telling me about this study they did where like, I'm going to screw it up, but it was something to this effect. You know, I'm sure you've heard the thing where they did these studies where like your dog knows you're coming home when you're still 50 miles away and your dog goes to the door and like expects you. It was something like that, but it was with plants where like when you walk in the house, your plants have a certain response. When you talk to them, when you water them, when you caress them or clean their leaves, they're sentient beings to some degree, you know? So like, I don't know. Now I think it's interesting because there's legitimate science that's starting to back up some of the more woo-woo ideas that would have sounded nuts a few years ago. And now we find out a lot of the woo-woo is actually woo-true.
Oh yeah. So like just tree, anytime like when you grounding, there's just trees everywhere. I can just like I put my forehead on them and I like just like resets and I just remember that I'm part of nature and a whole big other thing. And then the third thing, like my biggest teacher is my sister who like has terminal cancer, but she's doing great right now. She like literally just came back from the dead. Like after we did Holon, I went straight to my sister's in Salt Lake City. We literally had a conversation where we said goodbye to each other. Like she was in horrible shape with chemo. And now she just like went to Mexico with her husband last weekend, like just like bald and rocking it. And just like, and I've learned so much from her because we are opposites for as like woo and out there as I am, like she is not. And like, I have just learned so much from her about like loving people the way that they want to be loved and like just trusting that like each of us like bring our own like super unique divine essence and just like trusting that like, you know, like cause we went through like an awkward phase for a second where I was like, oh, you got to do this alternative thing and that alternative thing. And she's like, no, I'm going to do what my intuition tells me to do. And I've just watched her like lean into that and like make medical miracles happen. And it's just been such a great teaching for me, just watching her, and just a big reminder that like everyone is on their own path and there's not only one way to do things. Like it's helped me be a better leader with business. And I'm just like, it's like amazing to watch.
Wow. Epic. I'm so glad to hear that, because I remember
we haven't even caught up with that.
The diagnosis. I was like, wow, you're going home to a challenging situation.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for going to Holon at the same time I did.
It's so fun.
Allowing us to connect, and thank you for making awesome freaking drinks. I mean, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world because, like, I wouldn't say I miss drinking, but, it was a huge part of my life for a really long time. And I just was like, okay, we're done. And that's gone for this incarnation. And now, like, I have a way that I can do it without, ending up in trouble.
Oh, this is so fun.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.